I'd like to introduce Chris from Scotland, who has multiple sclerosis. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Linda. Nice to speak to you.
So, tell us your story. I think you will entertain us with your being diagnosed and re-diagnosed.
Okay. About 16 years ago, I had a holiday and came back with strange pins and needles. And I'd just moved flat, so I went to a brand new GP, and the first thing he asked me about was optical neuritis I'd had 2 years before. I thought this was a very strange connection between my eyes and my legs. So I basically bullied him into telling me what he thought it was. And I had private healthcare, so I very quickly got the most likely diagnosis of MS, but very mild. And after quite a few months, the pins and needles and things had worn off. But I changed my lifestyle, I changed my diet, I gave up my very stressful job. I just met my now partner. And so I kind of did lots of things to look after myself, worked part-time. And then I moved to Scotland and I was having weird eye problems, and so went to see another neurologist, and he told me I didn't have MS.
But how old were you when you were diagnosed the first time?
I was diagnosed about 4 or 5 years. I kind of lose track. 4 or 5 years. And then, so I went a lot of years, always believing that it probably was, but not really having any kind of support or anything. In the meantime, fatigue got much worse. I had various eye problems, and eventually I got neuritis again, and my ophthalmologist said, I think you need to get back to the neurologist. So off I went again, and then I was re-diagnosed. And to me it was just a big relief. But in the meantime, what had happened is I'd started to suffer a lot of cognitive problems, and I had no idea that was part of the MS. I just thought I was being a bit daft at work. And fatigue had got on top of me, and again, although I recognised it, I didn't realise what an effect it could have on me. So those were my major problems.
But if we can just stop, so Simon can do this bit again. When I said how old were you when you were first diagnosed?
Oh, how old? Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you said how long ago.
No.
I was about 35 when I was first diagnosed.
Yeah. And then when was the second time you were diagnosed?
It would be about 48, 49, something like that.
Right. Okay. So what were your symptoms at that time?
Terrible fatigue and very bad cognitive problems, but no real physical problems.
Okay. So your bowel and bladder and that were fine?
No, yeah, and I still don't have foot drop or any of the kind of general.
What about numbness and pins and needles?
Occasionally, but not a lot, because that was one of my major things at the beginning, and so I kind of learned to avoid those. But I have had periods of it, like I suddenly had numbness in my face for a few months and things, but that seems to have gone again as well.
Yeah. So what about intolerance to heat or burning sensation?
Heat really bad. And again, I hadn't realised the holiday when I first came back and first got the diagnosis. I'd been in Mexico. Little did I know how bad that was for me. And I'd had all kinds of vaccinations too, so they think that's what the trigger was. But the heat really gets to me, which is partly why I live in Scotland.
Well, you don't get many heat waves up in Scotland.
Well, we had a heat wave this weekend. But no, it's cooler. Unfortunately, it's wetter as well. But also I find the pace of life a little more relaxed. And I'd lived in London and the southeast for quite a long time when I was first diagnosed. And my partner came up here for work, and it suited us. So no, I have found myself a much more relaxed way of life, should I say. So.
Yeah. How did you learn about LDN?
Talking to other people. When I was re-diagnosed, I asked for a referral to revise the independent MS charity in Glasgow, which I'd heard about when I first moved here. And I met people there, and I went out on a couple of lunches, my social things, and people started talking about it. Also, I met people through a newly diagnosed group at the hospital, and I heard a few people talking about it, so I did a bit of research. And I'd heard some not success stories, some unsuccessful people too. But I did a bit of research, and as fatigue was really my major problem then, I decided to give it a go.
Mm-hmm.
Last May I started. I wish they'd started before, but I was about to go on holiday and things, so I thought I'd leave it till afterwards, and, in case, because I'm allergic to a lot of things, so I was a bit worried about that.
Yes.
And I haven't really looked back. I have so much more energy, and I think because of that, I have better cognition too. I've just returned to self-employment after giving up a job last January, just literally 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm starting to do a little bit of the kind of work I used to do, which is great.
So did your own doctor prescribe LDN, or did you have to get it privately?
I get it privately, but my doctor's interested. He's kind of following. He'd never ever heard of it, so he had no clue. And he just said, well, I don't want to prescribe it because I don't know anything about it, but keep me in the loop.
Yeah.
And I'd just seen the consultant, and he'd written to say it wouldn't do me any harm. He's not totally convinced that it's what's helping. He thinks giving up work is what's helped me, but I can tell him that it was literally like a switch overnight almost when I started. So my doctor he follows my progress, and he's interested, and he's asked me a couple of questions once or twice. So maybe there's a chance that he'll start prescribing to others, if not for me. But that might happen.
So how long have you been taking LDN?
Almost a year.
Okay. So what has it done to help your symptoms?
The main thing is I'm not feeling like I need to go to sleep as soon as I've done one small thing during the day. My partner can't believe it, that he goes to bed before me now. I'm wide awake. I have started to occasionally be able to cook a meal, although he's just come in and started cooking now, because there was just no way I could ever cook a meal. I still try and do that during the day to have it ready for him as he's coming in, but he goes away to work, and I can actually look after myself, which, there were times when I was basically just getting by.
Yes.
What
about the cognitive problems? You sound pretty good to me.
Yeah, I'm finding that that's better, and I think it's a combination of the LDN helping the fatigue, and I think it may be helping the actual cognitive things, and possibly also because I did give up work for just over a year, and I started to teach myself new things. I've just learnt to crochet, and my friends will tell you, I've gone mad. I've been teaching myself really complicated things that they've never done and things like that. And so I'm finding that I thought I would never be able to learn anything new again, but I am finding that I can do that. And I certainly put some of that down to the LDN. Did you have any initial side effects when you started? A few days of strange dreams and things. And I went up a little higher from my dose. I stayed at 2, went up a little higher and just felt kind of slightly pinned and noodly, and went back down again. So I just stayed at 2 nearly, because it seems to be fine.
Right. So what would you say to other people who are contemplating trying LDN? I've only met one person who had severe reactions, and she thinks it was LDN, but it could have been a coincidence. And I would therefore say it's worth a try, always worth a try. Everyone I've spoken to has more energy, and quite a lot of people have other benefits that they hadn't even thought about. I know friends who have just got used to some of the bowel and bladder problems, and they find that that's improved slightly and that kind of thing. And I think it has, as my consultant said, it wouldn't do you any harm, and therefore for a small daily thing of measuring it out and taking it, it's definitely worth trying. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to add? I would say that yourself, Linda, and at the Trust have been helpful. A few times I've had questions, quick email replies. I dip in and out and occasionally and see what people are talking about on the website. And I think having those other people out there is always good.
and having other people with experience of something similar. I've also recommended it to people with different conditions. None of them have taken it out so far, but are quite interested. And I think then seeing that there are other people out there with a similar condition to them, that's a good thing as well. So I think the website itself is really, really helpful. And unfortunately, I didn't make it to the conference when it was in Glasgow. I really wanted to, and I think it would have been good, again, to meet other people.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your story with us, Chris. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Then seeing that there are other people out there with a similar condition to them, that's a good thing as well. So I think the website itself is really, really helpful. And unfortunately, I didn't make it to the conference when it was in Glasgow. I really wanted to, and I think it would have been good, again, to meet other people.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your story with us, Chris.